Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy Jared Bless coming at you guys with another video, man. Make sure you guys leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's get straight into the video. But wait, before I do that, make sure you guys subscribe because we are so close to 200 subscribers. We 20 subscribers away, so hopefully you guys can smash that that sub button so we can get to 100 subscribers. It's UFC 282, fight week. Let's try to get there, man. I think we could do it, but let's get straight into the video, man. So we're going to be doing UFC 282 picks. I'm going to give you guys my final picks and how I think the fights are going to go and, just my breakdown of it. So let's get straight into the first fight. First fight we got to kick off the night. It's a bantamweight bout. We got Cameron Simon versus Steven Kozlov. Now, these are both two guys that are making their UFC debuts. And honestly, it's a literal striker versus grappler situation. Cameron Simon being the grappler, or not the grappler. Cameron Simon actually being the striker, and Steven Kozlov being the grappler. He has all six. Both of these guys have 6 wins. They're both 6-0, so very inexperienced. But Steven Kozlov is taking the fight on short notice. So the fact that he's taking the fight on short notice could be an issue for him, especially since the fact that he's a grappler. Or all his wins have come by submission, so he's gonna have to be in grappling exchanges. Cameron Simon obviously being a great striker and having the ability to wrestle. Not saying that his takedown defense is gonna be something like absolutely crazy, but he's gonna be more equipped to win the fight, in my opinion, because for Kozlov, the best thing that he'll have going is that he has to hurry up and try to get some type of exchange going right away where maybe he can get a quick submission where he doesn't have to really grapple too much or exert too much energy. Because if you're a wrestler or you're a grappler and you don't have a full camp, you're taking a fight on short notice, the chance of you winning a fight is not that great. You have to get lucky. You have to run out there, snatch up a guillotine or something, or jump on the back and get a rear naked, standing rear naked, something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna lean Cameron Simon to win the striking exchanges, be good enough to defend a few takedowns. I'm not saying defend all, but I think his gassing is going to be a lot better. I think he might even be live for a finish. He's very dangerous on the feet. The same way Kozlov's dangerous on the ground, Cameron's dangerous on the feet, and Kozlov's taking the fight on short notice. So I don't see him, his gas tank being able to hold up for 3 straight rounds. So that's my prediction for the first fight. I got Cameron Simon. Next fight up, we got a flyweight bout. We got Vinicius Salvador versus Daniel Da Silva. Now, Daniel Da Silva is super dangerous, but he's reckless, and Salvador could be overconfident. He could be overconfident at times, and he could, cause himself to get hit. But he is a good counter striker. And honestly, I see this fight ended in finish. Daniel Da Silva, all of his fights have ended by finish, whether he's won or he's lost. They've all been by finish. Salvador's making his UFC debut, but I don't know why. I just feel like this is gonna be the fight that Daniel Da Silva ends up getting that finish he's been so hardly searching for. Especially since the fact that Salvador does get hit, he can get slightly overconfident, even though he's a good counter striker. If he tries to rely on that and he gets a little bit overconfident, I feel like he would definitely get finished by Da Silva because of how dangerous he is, especially, it being his debut. He's not some type of super big prospect or anything like that. So yeah, I'm going to lean Daniel Da Silva to get the finish victory. Next fight up on the card, we got Eric Silva versus TJ Brown. Now, Eric Silva is super aggressive with his wrestling, and TJ Brown has terrible takedown defense. But TJ, is a decent striker. So if I had to really sit here and think about it, I'm just going to lean towards Eric Silva just because of his aggressiveness and the fact that TJ Brown's not that great. He doesn't really have great takedown defense. It could be a problem if TJ, starts to hang around and, his striking is a lot better, or just that slightly better than Eric Silva. If the fight's on the feet, then I feel like TJ has more of a chance. But I feel like Eric's aggressiveness with the wrestling will be enough to win the fight, and TJ's inability to defend takedowns at a high clip is what is making me lean towards Eric Silva to get the victory. So yeah, that's going to be my pick for the fight, Eric Silva. Next up, we got Billy Corlentino versus Alexander Hernandez. Now, both Billy Q and Alex can strike. Billy is a more accurate striker, but to me, I feel like whoever can get their wrestling going will win the fight. I think this fight's going to be really, really close. I think whoever wins is going to be by split decision. I don't think there's going to be a finish. Could be wrong. Alex Hernandez is dropping down to featherweight. He's usually typically fighting at lightweight, but he's had a little bit of inconsistent success at lightweight. It started off pretty good for him. He has a win over Beneil Dariush. That's a great win in itself. Look how good Beneil Dariush is right now. So That win is aging well for Alexander Hernandez, but you know he's been very inconsistent. He lost to Donald Cerrone. He has a win over Francisco Trinaldo, who has proven to be very durable, very good. You know, at this point in his career, 40 plus years old. But honestly, I'm gonna lean Billy Q. I don't know. I've just seen too much inconsistency from Alexander Hernandez, and I'm not sure if his power is really gonna, his power and his athleticism is really gonna transfer down to featherweight because he's typically fighting at lightweight. So maybe that extra weight cut could have an effect on him. And for me, I just think that Billy Q is gonna be able to just do more. Now, obviously, Alexander Hernandez could be explosive and get something done, but I just don't see that happening at featherweight. If he was at lightweight right now, maybe I would say that for this fight, but I'm gonna lean Billy Q. Next fight up, that's gonna end the early prelims, and then we go on to the prelims. So the first fight on the prelims, and I feel like this fight low-key should be in the main card, is Chris Curtis versus Joaquin Buckley. Now, in all honesty, Chris Curtis has only fought grapplers in his recent fights. He took a short notice fight versus Jack Hermanson, and he lost. And the only reason why that kind of did surprise me, because it's not even like Jack Hermanson was grappling with Chris Curtis. He was just standing on the feet with him, fighting smart, fighting safely. And shockingly to me, Chris Curtis lost the fight. I doubted Jack Hermanson in that fight, but I didn't think that Jack Hermanson was going to stand on the feet with Chris Curtis and actually be safe and outstrike him. And Chris Curtis got emotional in that fight. You know, he was upset that Jack Hermanson wouldn't fight him, but it was a short notice fight for both fighters. Obviously, Jack Hermanson was already preparing for a fight, and Chris Curtis was taking a fight on short notice. He did not have an opponent. So the timing for him definitely was going to be a little bit off. But honestly, Buckley is a great striker, but he has been finished multiple times. And Chris Curtis has great takedown defense. So even though Buckley has shown that he could wrestle a little bit, he's not going to be able to take down Chris Curtis. So this is a fight standing on the feet where Chris Curtis has shown that he has knockout ability. Same thing with Joaquin Buckley. We've seen him get a crazy ninja knockout. That's probably the greatest knockout of all time, in my opinion. Like no one does that. Like that to me, that's the greatest knockout of all time. If I ever meet Joaquin Buckley in real life, I will tell him that, bro. If there's anything you need to be proud of when you walk away from the sport, or at the end of the day, even if you don't become a champion, you have the greatest knockout in UFC history. That was a ninja kick. But yeah, in terms of standing on the feet, I feel like Chris Curtis is going to be able to cause some damage on the feet and even get Joaquin Buckley out of there. Joaquin Buckley has been finished 3 times already in the UFC. So it's like, come on now. He definitely can get finished again by Chris Curtis. And this is a good matchup for Chris Curtis because he's finally fighting a striker. He's not dealing with a grappler or taking a fight on short notice. So with that being said, I'm going to lean towards Chris Curtis. That's just my honest opinion on the fight. Next fight we got is Edmund Shabazian versus Dolce Luyendambala. Now, I love Edmund Shabazian, man. It's heartbreaking to see how his career was playing out. And I was screaming for him to leave the gym that he was at. He was training underneath the old gym. I forgot the name of it. I think it was in Glendale, Arizona, or I could be getting it mixed up. Cali, somewhere around there, somewhere in the West Coast, with Ronda Rousey's old coach. And that guy is he's just not really a good coach in my opinion, from what I was seeing. But we'll get into the breakdown of the fight. Edmund is a better striker. Dolce is powerful though, and Edmund has his takedown defense and his gas tank is a bit scary, but Dolce has he has an even worse gas tank. Edmund finally switched from his toxic camp to Extreme Couture, and this was coming from Edmund himself. He was saying that he was in a toxic environment, and as he was losing the fights, because he's currently on a 3-fight skid losing streak, I was wondering when he was going to switch camps, because obviously something was not going right with the game plan. He was going out there and getting dominated. You got to make a change. It's not always to say that the fighters should be blaming their gyms or blaming their coaches, but if you're not getting the right game plan, if it's a toxic environment, you need to leave. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you're the one that's stepping into the octagon. So if you feel like you need a change, you need to make that change. Coaches are not stepping into the octagon, so it's a whole different ballgame. So I'm very glad that Edmund has left the gym. I think he's going to get this win. Yes, I'm being a little bit biased because I like Edmund Shabazian, but at the same time, Dolce Luyendambala, he hasn't had a finish in a long time. He is powerful though. He is very explosive, but he has a horrible gas tank. And, he's shown that he can be finished at a high clip. This fight, I'm going to lean towards Edmund Shabazian. I think he's going to get the win. But if you think that you could put Edmund in a parlay and be safe, that's not the case, because Dolce is very out of control, very wild. And if he can get a takedown and just kind of lay down on top of Edmond, Edmond has shown that his takedown defense is not good. Gas tank is not that great. And he kind of just lays on his back in those situations. It hurts me to say that. It really does. You know, we could talk about Edmond Shabazian a different day. But yeah, I'm going to lean for him to win this fight. But once again, Dolce is very, very dangerous, very, very out of control. So be careful if you're going to put him in a parlay or something like that. If you're going to put Edmond in a parlay, just remember and understand that Dolce is very dangerous. The next fight we got is Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Chris Daukaus. Now, this is a 50-50 fight. Two guys that have been knocked out in their careers before, but Chris Daukaus is coming off back-to-back knockouts. It seems like his chin is really, really in question. And when you're at heavyweight and you start to get slumped, knocked out, it's not good, man. It's gonna be hard for you to be able to do anything out, anything outside of that. And I feel like Jairzinho has that more stunning power. He's been able to like just touch people and knock them out. They haven't, either fighter or neither fighter has been really winning their fights very consistently. But if I had to lean towards somebody, I'm going to lean towards Jairzinho. I think that his ability to control the range and have that, he has that kickboxing background, I think it'll go a lot better for him versus Chris Daukaus, who he is a brown, he does have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he never seems to take the fight to the ground. He never seems to get there. And Jairzinho has good enough takedown defense to where he's not going to be getting taken down by Chris Daukaus. So this fight, for me, I'm going to lean towards Jairzinho Rozenstruik. But it is a heavyweight fight. Chris Daukaus can box. So it takes one punch. One punch can end the fight. So, yeah, take that how you guys would take it. But next up, we got Raul Rosas Jr. versus Jay Perrin. We got the 18-year-old versus the damn near 30-year-old. Honestly, Raul has great grappling, and he's going against a not very dangerous Jay Perrin. I watched Jay Perrin's fight versus Ariel O'Callaghan, and Jay Perrin had his moments where I thought that he could have done something to get, to push a little bit more for that win, but he just wasn't willing to grind. He wasn't willing to grind in that fight. And when you're going up against a young 18-year-old that, is young, confident, and he's a great grappler, great on top. If he was a striker, I'd be super concerned for him. Like, yo, how is this 18-year-old in the UFC fighting? Like, they couldn't put him on the contender series a bit more. And, I'm just looking at it like, yo, like, he might get manhandled. That's what I'm just personally thinking. But he's a great grappler. He's great at control when he gets his takedowns. It's not like he's getting takedowns and letting the people back up. He's actually getting takedowns and controlling the fight. So that's a good thing for him. And going up against a guy in Jay Perrin who just has shown not to be dangerous at all, I'm going to have to go with the 18-year-old. I'm going to have to go with Raul. But I would be, on a scale of 1 through 10, I'd be zero. I would not be shocked if Jay Perrin just absolutely goes out there and touches Raul and puts him out or something. Because, I don't know, it's kind of weird to me, 18-year-old. Like, we always see the younger fighters fight the older fighters, but 18, though, just turning 18, like to where your parents had to sign off on you fighting in the UFC. It's like, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot more room for something to go wrong. But I'm wishing the best of Raul. He's very young, and it's always cool to see a young fighter doing this thing. So, yep, that's going to be the final fight of the prelims. And straight to the main card. We get straight to the main card. We got Bryce Mitchell versus Ilir Topuria. Now, Bryce Mitchell is aggressive and accurate with his wrestling, but Ilia has 100% takedown defense. Ilia is a better striker, but he does gas. Bryce will win because of consistent pressure, and Ilia has a bad tank. Bryce has a abysmal takedown defense of a 34%, so that's extremely concerning. But honestly, guys, when I'm looking at this fight outside the notes, I think that the fact that Ilia has a bad, like, not a bad gas tank, but he has shown that that he can fade, that he will fade. I think that Bryce Mitchell's constant pressure forward and shooting for takedowns is what's going to be the difference. Obviously, Ilia can wrestle himself. But I think he's fell in love with his striking and his ability to, finish the fight on the feet. So I don't see him wanting to actually sit there and be on the ground with Bryce. I see him wanting to actually strike because he's the clearly better striker. So him being the clearly better striker, in my mind, I'm thinking that he's going to want to keep the fight on the feet. He's going to try his best to stop takedowns, stuff takedowns, avoid being controlled, avoid being wet blanketed by Bryce Mitchell. And I think it's just going to be too much. It's going to be constant wrestling exchanges. Bryce Mitchell's not going to stop. And he is going to have his moments where he can control the fight, get some top control. In my opinion, I think Bryce Mitchell is going to be able to win this fight. Not easily because Ilya is a beast, but I think that this is a matchup that Bryce Mitchell can definitely win because he's going to be able to get the fight to the ground. My only concern is that if Ilya decides that he wants to actually try to shoot on Bryce, how well would Bryce do in that? Because 34% takedown defense is absolutely terrible. So if Ilya decides that he wants to mix in wrestling and mix in the striking, then he could definitely probably win the fight. But I'm gonna lean Bryce. But yeah, I'm kind of second guessing the pick right now. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm kind of scared if Ilya decides to wrestle. But he's a clearly better striker. I think he's gonna want to try to stick to that. I don't think he's gonna want to try to wrestle with Bryce Mitchell. He could 100% lose scrambles with Bryce Mitchell. So to wrestle will be stupid, actually, when I think about it. Like, no, he should not wrestle. If he wrestles, that'd be dumb. He could get out scrambled. It opens up too many can of worms that's not worth opening. He's going to try to stay on the feet. Bryce Mitchell's going to push the wrestling pace, and I think Bryce Mitchell's going to be able to get the win that way. So that's the way I see that fight going. Next up, we got a middleweight bout. We got Darren Till versus Dricus du Plessis. Now, honestly, this is a must win for Darren Till. Must win. No question about it. This is his last chance to show that he can compete for a title. Obviously, he got the title shot back in 2018 versus Woodley. The UFC kind of pushed him to that. He was supposedly supposed to be the next Conor. We saw how that went out. Honestly, it's a must win for Till, like I said, but he's a great counter striker. And that could play into him, maybe getting a victory because Dricus is wildly aggressive and he could put himself in harm's way at times. Dricus could wrestle a little bit, but he has terrible accuracy, and Darren Till has great takedown defense. So if Darren Till is going to win this fight, I think that it's going to be off of him just being able to counter-strike. Dricus' last fight versus Brad Tavares, he was very, 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 very wild. He put himself in harm's way. And, at this point in Brad Tavares' career, he's taken a lot of damage. He's been in the top 15 pretty much his whole career. But, he's taken a lot of damage. He's been finished before. He got knocked out by Shabazian with a crazy head kick. So I wasn't expecting Tavares to really do anything to Dricus, but there were some scary moments where I thought that Tavares was going to be able to do enough to win that fight. And in terms of the striking, Darren Till is just a clearly better striker than Dricus. Dricus is powerful though, but I think the counter striking of Darren Till will actually come to play. And I think he could get a finish on Dricus. So I'm going to go with Darren Till to win this fight. Next up, we got Anthony Morono. I don't even know why this is on the main card. I don't understand why would they do this. Why would you put a short notice fight on the main card? If anything, it was better off they just put the 18-year-old on the main card. That's like something that would catch people's eye. Like, hey, we want to see what this 18-year-old kid can do. Like that, I think that's more appealing to me than Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Alex Morono. And that's no disrespect to Santiago Ponzinibbio because he was ranked number 7 at one point at welterweight. A lot of people forget about that, but he had those series of serious injuries. And he came back from it. He hasn't really been the same fighter. I think those injuries really ruined his career because he was well on his way to being he was a great welterweight. He was a great fighter, ranked number 7, climbing his way up the ranks. He gets this crazy, almost life-ending injury, and he comes back and he's just not the same fighter. But, this fight could be in his favor because, Alex Morono is taking the fight on short notice. But that's the only thing that I think that Ponzinibbio has going for him in this fight is the fact that Alex Moreno is taking this fight on short notice. Moreno is a slightly better striker. Neither really wrestle. And, it's a short notice fight, so that could take effect on Moreno. But if I'm going to go with somebody to win the fight, I'm going to lean towards Alex Morono. He's a slightly better striker. Ponzinibbio has a little bit slightly better striking defense, but he's just not the same fighter anymore. And Morono does have sting on his shots, and he's very accurate. So that win over Semmelsberger was a big win. Morono bursted my parlays with that when he got over Semmelsberger. Bringing back some bad memories, but yeah, Morono has shown to be very, very accurate, and getting a win over a guy like Semmelsberger who has serious power, hurting him, causing some damage on Semmelsberger, getting a win. Him going up against Santiago. If this fight was a full camp, I would have no doubts to pick Morono. The only thing that's making me have second thoughts is the fact that Morono is taking the fight on short notice, but I still think he should get this done. Next up, onto the co-main event, we got Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. Now, recently there's been, some stuff in the news with Paddy Pimblett and Ariel Helwani, and I watched Ariel Helwani's response to what Paddy Pimblett was saying on his podcast with Dana White. And what I've came to the conclusion is that Paddy Pimblett is pretty much just a puppet. You know, he's just pretty much following what his manager says to do, and he's not really not being smart. He's listening to Twitter. He's just displaying stupid stuff. I'm still a fan of Paddy the fighter. I don't think he's a horrible human being. You know, that what he did for his friend that committed suicide was a great thing. You know, he pretty much helped a lot of people across the world. Like, hey, like, don't do it to yourself. If you need somebody to talk to, go talk to your closest friend. You know, that was a good thing for him to do. So I'm not saying he's a terrible human being, but that whole thing that's going on with him and with Ariel Helwani right now is just scumbag stuff to me. I think that could be a little bit of bad luck for Paddy Pimblett. The MMA guys might make him get knocked out because of that. But if I'm just breaking down the fight just straight up, Paddy's more well-rounded. But Jared Gordon could push forward and get takedowns, which could lead to Paddy, you know, kind of getting into scramble situations. He could win some scrambles. But yeah, Jared Gordon could lay on top of Paddy, could get some takedowns, could control the fight, because Jordan Levitt was able to do it a bit. He was able to get some takedowns on Paddy Pimblett. But Paddy is dangerous on the ground. He's not dangerous on the feet, but he has shown the ability to finish a fight on the feet, has some decent striking up there. So he's just a more well-rounded fighter, more than Jared Gordon is. The best thing that Jared Gordon could possibly do is get some takedowns and kind of just lay on Paddy, get some control time in. But I don't really see that happening. The only thing that I can see happening is the MMA guys actually, you know, saying, "Hey, Paddy, you need to hold this L." You know what I'm saying? Maybe that'll force him to just kind of look at his surroundings a bit more, kind of not be a puppet, kind of not try to like please Dana White. Maybe when he's out of camp, he'll understand that no one's saying that you have to eat salads when you're outside of camp, but to just bloat yourself like that, it's a little bit ridiculous. And you know, the more that he fights up the rankings, it could get worse and worse for him. Like, lightweight is no joke. So if you're running around outside of camp, not taking stuff serious, you could get a short notice fight. You know, you just never really know. And for Paddy, he could never take a short notice fight because he has to get into like a full 10, 12 week camp. There's no way he could sit there and take a fight on short notice that's going to help him. You know, that could be, you know, a good thing for him. Who knows? But enough of Paddy. He's kind of like the main event of the card. That's why I'm kind of talking about him so much. Because, you know, most of the other fights I don't really care for too much. If I'm looking through the card right now, yeah, none of these fights are really... Oh, Edmund, I can't wait to see Edmund. The 18-year-old fight is going to be intriguing with Raul. It's a must-win for Darren Till. I'm actually excited to see the Bryce Mitchell versus Ilya Tapura fight. So, yeah, there's a couple fights I'm excited for a little bit. But Paddy's up there. So, yeah, anyways, that's my pick for the fight, Paddy. But don't be surprised if the MMA guys makes Paddy get, you know, just lose the fight. I don't know if it's a knockout. It probably might be a knockout. But on to the main event. We got Magomed Ankalaev versus Jan Blachowicz. The main event, we know how this whole thing played out. The original main event was Glover Teixeira versus Yuri Prochazka 2. Crazy fight of the year candidate. They were going to run it back. You know, Jerry gets a crazy shoulder injury. He has to pull out. They try to offer Glover Magomed Ankalaev on short notice. He wanted more time to prepare for him. He tried to ask for, you know, Jan Blachowicz instead, which, I mean, who wouldn't? It was an easier fight. He won that fight. He's saying the fans want to see them run that back, which no one really wants to see that fight because we saw Glover dominate that fight. So it made more sense for Glover to fight Magomed Ankalaev. He didn't want to do it, so they had to move on and make Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev. Now, Magomed is a rangy striker with good wrestling, but he could fight timid because of Jan's big power. The fight should be boring. Now, the reason why I say that is because, you know, I watched Magomed fight Thiago Santos, and we know how dangerous Thiago Santos is. Obviously, he was on a big fight losing skid in the UFC in the ending of his time there, but he was always dangerous, had big power. And, you know, Magomed fought that fight scary. He fought that fight scary, but he did avoid being hit too often. So I think that same thing's going to happen with Jan. I don't think he's going to try to wrestle Jan. I mean, Jan did get not taken down by Glover. He got dropped. So maybe Magomed could actually drop Jan and start to get that wrestling exchange going. But yeah, I just don't see this fight being super entertaining. I see Magomed getting the win for sure. But in terms of how the fight's going to play out, I think that they're going to be on the feet. You know, Jan's going to be just super powerful. They're going to be standing in the pocket. But the range of Magomed is going to be a problem. He knows how to use the range very, very well. He doesn't get hit too often, and he always has a wrestler in his back pocket, if anything. So yeah, I'm gonna lean towards Magomed Ankalaev to win that fight. But that is gonna do it for the video, guys. That's gonna do it for my picks. UFC 282. You guys let me know what's your picks. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree? Obviously, after UFC 282, we're gonna do a reaction video to how my picks did, and you know the stories of the fight card. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. My next video will be the underdog of the night for UFC 282. So if you guys don't know what that is, basically underdog of the night is where I pick a underdog that's on the card that I feel like is gonna win. And we go from there. Currently, I'm 1-0 because I did last week pick Stephen Wonderboy Thompson to beat Kevin Holland. He was an underdog in that fight. And, I broke that down. So, yeah, that's going to do it for the video, guys. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Good luck to anybody who's going to go bet. And, yeah, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you guys never miss another video. It's your boy, Jared Bless, and I'm out, y'all. Peace.